Good morning. It's Tuesday, February the 23rd, and this is The Drill. Thank you. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today, and welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. And today's offering in terms of the prayer of the day is, again, from the daily offerings for spiritual warfare. This is entitled, "The Power in My Hands Will Be Released in Your Life. I will release my power and might against the enemy by my right hand. I will show you the path of life. In my presence is fullness of joy, and at my right hand are pleasures forevermore. Do not be afraid, but follow close behind me. For my right hand upholds you. My glory covers the heavens, and my praise has filled the earth. Like the sunrise, rays flash from my hands when my power is hidden. I've shown my people the power of my works. The works of my hands are faithful and just, and all my precepts are trustworthy. They are established forever and ever, and enacted in faithfulness and uprightness." Prayer declaration. Lord, let the power in your hands be released in my life. Your mighty works are performed by your hands. You laid your hands on the sick and they recovered. You lifted up your hands and blessed your people. With your hands you have given me the power and authority to defeat my enemies. I am delivered from the power of Satan unto you, O Lord, and I am strong in your power and might. And that was, again, from a book by John Eckhart, Daily Declarations for Spiritual Warfare. And I like these daily prayers that in here because, again, it mentions the ultimate enemy, and that's Satan. Socialism is evil, and who is responsible for that but Satan? And so ultimately, that's what we're, as Christians, that's who we're battling. And everything, the left has brainwashed us slowly but surely over the months and years and decades to disregard Satan as part of the equation of Christianity, of being a Christian. And that's no good. Everything makes sense in this world when Satan is included. So when Satan is in the equation, everything makes sense. When you're asking yourself, why does there seem to be so much evil in the world, then you have to come to the conclusion that it is Satan. Without Satan, it doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. If you have only God, and then, of course, it's going to be, why does God let this happen? With Satan in the picture, then you're reminded that there is something going on here, a celestial, if you will, drama that is being played out, that Satan will ultimately be defeated, and that's when we will have peace on earth. That's when we will actually have paradise, and that will be the second coming of Jesus Christ. So, but that's the reason I like to remind myself and remind others that Satan is in the picture. The Satan is always in the picture, and that should not be forgotten. So the following is going to be a clip that I got on Twitter from Prager University, and it's Candace Owens having a conversation, and it's about critical race theory.
What is a society, how do we benefit from a society that is perpetually trying to dumb down, not just black students, all students? We're seeing kind of the replacement of hard academics, learning things that you learned at school, with these sort of psychological conditioning programs, learning about white privilege and learning about 26 different genders, as opposed to learning mathematics and science. What is the ultimate goal, and just why?
I mean, it's all about the Marxism. And the critical race theory, one of the things that I hope that your viewers will dig deeply into is critical race theory. And I strongly encourage people to read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And when they challenge the academic institutions that are discriminating against them, they would be following one of those rules. Saul Alinsky says, make your enemy live up to his rule book. His rule book is that student handbook, and those things the university says it stands for, make them live up to what they say. And I would encourage young people, even though academia right now is like a cesspool in a way, there's not a lot of real learning going on. There's plenty of indoctrination, but not critical thinking. To be a critical thinker, you have to be exposed to different ideas, more than one side. There's very little of that taking place. But I believe that conservative youth can go into colleges, universities, and get PhDs and get through. And that means that some people will be like the two of us. They'll be outspoken. And people will know who you are, and you will either thrive if people like you and you're winsome and that you really are intelligent. You know their arguments as well as your own arguments. You can put it through. You can get through. And there are enough classical liberals, that believe in free speech and the Constitution that will support students. But I think there's a place for students that are that use a little bit of subterfuge. That you don't have to tell everyone what you're thinking. and sometimes, and I would say, like sometimes during the interviews for medical school, they will ask students questions, applicants, that's designed to eliminate those, that may be pro-life. And I think that they have to use great wisdom and that there's nothing wrong. We don't want to be deceivers. Like Saul Alinsky was into deception, manipulation, and infiltration. I think we should be into infiltration. There should be no place that's safe for liberals. And that we have to know what they're doing. To be able to infiltrate, you have to get into those places. And you have to keep your mouth shut at times and realize that we are in a cultural war. And I will argue that the rules of engagement during war are different from other periods of time. And in the Bible, for people that read the Bible, people used subterfuge when they needed to use it. And so I'm not encouraging people, to lie, but I'm saying you can be strategic. You can get through. And I think that we need conservatives everywhere. And we need people that believe in America, believe in its Constitution, have values and principles.
So Coca-Cola, it was on Instagram. Rumor on Instagram is that Coca-Cola is making people take a white an author's course. What it is? It's a critical race author's course on white fragility and how to be less white. So again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. If you're anybody, I don't care, you're white, Mexican, or whatever. You work for any company right now, you need to go to human resources immediately and change your paperwork. The paperwork, there's a sheet of paper that asks you questions like, are you male, are you female, what race do you identify with, etc. Go in there and change it to refuse to state. Okay, because I'm sure that's the basis on which they're deciding who it is that has to go and take this particular course. They just go to human resources. All these people that checked white, Caucasian, or whatever are now then given a letter, and you better show up for that course. So if you're, no matter what race you are, if you're truly conservative, get over there and change it to refuse to state. So listening to Glenn Beck talking about what amounts to counter racism, the situation that was going on at Coca-Cola, and I had said in my previous one of my previous podcasts that if you work for Coca-Cola or actually anybody, you need to go to human resources and fix the paperwork that identifies your race. There's paperwork in there that asks you what is your gender, what is your race, and they tell you it's done for statistical purposes, and they also say it's optional. You don't have to fill it out. Get in there if you've already filled it out and change it and say refuse to state. Okay, and I've already talked about that, and I've already also talked about, but I'm going to reiterate it, why all this critical race theory crap is going on. The post-Marxists created new oppressed classes because the old oppressed class, the laborer, the common laborer, was unionized, fat, dumb, and happy, and in no mood to start a revolution. That's what they saw. They saw there's not going to be any revolution under Marxism because all of the workers of the world had become unionized and fat, dumb, and happy. They were rich in many cases. Many cases, these workers are just nothing. There's no other way to describe them other than rich. So, like you have and so once they become part of the rich and they become part of the establishment, they have absolutely no interest in overturning that establishment or being part of a revolution. It's counterproductive. It goes against their interests. So that's how post-Marxism was born. They said, well, okay, then we're just going to have to create new oppressed classes, and classes that are oppressed on reasons other than necessarily economic grounds. So they come up with feminism. They came up with the NAACP, and they came up with La Raza, and all these different organizations to represent people by race, by gender, etc. Even have environmental groups so that they can claim that the earth itself is oppressed or animals are oppressed. Now, the problem with all of this is that it backfired. And again, I've addressed this particularly with women. The idea with all of these groups was to take power away basically from white men, or threaten to, or attempt to, in the hopes that white men would then rebel and would start the worldwide revolution that'll end up with socialist, in theory, socialist paradise. So the women's movement came out with, for instance, the pill and abortion. Those were supposed to be game changers in as far as male hegemony is concerned, that it would take power away from men and give it to women. It did no such thing. It did the opposite. Both of those things, abortion and the pill, make it paradise for men that are 18 to 25 years old. They don't even have to bother to bring a condom to the party. Okay? They just pull their pants down and let's have at it. And the woman has to accept the responsibilities. She has power, yes, but power and authority are commensurate, or authority and responsibility, are commensurate. So you accept the authority, you have to accept the responsibility that goes along with it. So women end up with having to take the risks associated with taking the pill, take the risks associated with having abortions, while men go off jaunty jolly. They're having a great time. And so when they realize this, and the same thing that goes with race, you have situations where blacks are keeping a very sharp eye on themselves. And it isn't just about race, it's about diversity. It used to be about inclusion, having everybody was going to live together. They were going to be neighbors, and they worship together and go to school together. Integration was what it was called. We're going to be integrated, and that's the way we're going to, everything's going to be much better that way. Yes, but it doesn't promote much in the way of friction, of course, because if everybody's happy, again, we got all these people that are fat, dumb, and happy, then they don't want to have a revolution. And that's not the point. The whole point of having a civil rights movement was to piss off the white men so that they would crack down and set off a worldwide revolution. Now, it didn't happen. People start integrating. They do it relatively peacefully. You have a few here or there that are going to go Neanderthal about it, but for the most part, it's peaceful. So the left says, well, what do we do about this? I know. We will go the opposite direction. We will resegregate our society and promote the resegregation of our society by calling it diversity and pride, cultural pride, black pride, brown pride, red pride, etc. And then this way, we will put pressure on the white people. The white people then get, again, the friction on the whites. The whites will then go out and run out and start shooting the place up or trying to reinstitute slavery or Jim Crow or whatever. And again, crack down and set off a worldwide revolution. Well, it doesn't work. What ends up happening is the move for diversity makes white men freer. And it makes black people less free because white people no longer have to look over their shoulders for the whole civil rights movement was a boon to white Americans as much as it was, and perhaps more so than it was for minorities. Because whites no longer have to worry about that white guy that's going to walk up to them and ask them if they're an N-word lover. That guy's gone. Okay, so they can listen to so-called black music, so-called black food. They can talk to black people, and without worrying, they're free. They're free to talk to, act, eat whatever they want, listen to whatever they want, watch whatever they want, do whatever they want, culturally speaking. Who's not free are black people. If black people spend too much time with white folks, if they spend too much time talking and sounding like white people, they're sounding educated, they're not using ebonics, if they spend too much time listening to white music, such as, say, country music, if they spend a lot of time eating white food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then they are the ones that are now under pressure. They are the ones that are called Uncle Tom. They are the ones that are called bougie. They are the one who are called Oreos, or who are, they're not down for the struggle, but the pressure and the friction becomes internal. It is internal to each one of these groups, whether it's Hispanic or black or whatever. So again, white men are freer again. So the boneheads at Harvard, and it literally, this crap, CRT, critical race theory, came from Harvard. From a Harvard professor or professors. And I remember seeing this on the news, this Harvard professor coming out and saying, well, white culture has to be destroyed. Okay, they wouldn't sit down and say, you know what, guess what, post-Marxism is dead. It doesn't work. It's counterproductive. No. They're bound and determined to find a way to make post-Marxism work. And so this is their latest thing, is white people got to go. White culture has to go. Okay, so now that's where we get into having to go to white boy school. Okay, going to what amounts to what they used to have in the Soviet Union, which was called a re-education camp. The Vietnamese did it too. When the North Vietnamese successfully invaded the South and unified the country, a lot of the people, especially the leaders and whatnot, the big shots in the South, were taken to the North and put into what were called re-education camps. And you were re-educated on how it is that you're supposed to think and act as a, no, it's not even a Maoist or a Marxist, but it was Ho Chi Minh was the leader, and so a Minist, I guess. But anyways, same thing's going on here, re-education camp. Problem is, number one, is that the left doesn't have control of this society. They act as though they do. They act as though they are in complete and total control, as though that they have invaded this country and defeated us militarily, and now they are instituting or perhaps staged a coup. So listening to Hugh Hewitt, and he was interviewing Senator Cruz. Senator Cruz used to be my man. I was impressed with him. I forget what it is that impressed me about him. Well, I think one of the things was that he was a loyal soldier for President Trump. And so he was my presumptive nominee, Republican nominee in 2024. But lately he has shown extremely poor political judgment. Number one place where he did it was on January 6th. People stream into the Capitol building or the Hall of Clowns or whatever the hell the place is called. They go in there, and some of them breaking windows on the way in, but basically it was like a tourists that had been turned loose at Disneyland. That was about what it amounted to. But all of the representatives, our so-called representatives, panicked and fled. They fled. They ran away. They were ushered into some room somewhere where they were all hiding under desks, shaking like wet chihuahuas, including Senator Cruz. Now, Senator Cruz should have spotted an opportunity at that moment and go outside and meet the people head on. Get up on a desk or a chair and announce to them, I'm Senator Cruz from the state of Texas. If you have issues, you have anything to say, come say it to me. Boom. Instantly, he would have been the presumptive nominee in 2024. But no. Senator Cruz's weak-kneed, poor political instincts told him to follow his Anyways, so to follow his, follow his poor political instincts and follow everybody into the whatever room they were ushered into to go shaking like a wet chihuahua. So, and then what does he do? Recently, the poorest. I mean, I just don't get it with Senator Cruz. This is a guy that graduated from Harvard. So this is supposed to be the best education money can buy. But again, a man with no political instincts. It's people are freezing in Texas. What is Senator Cruz's solution? To get on a plane, take his family, get on a plane, and fly to Cancun. Not go across the border to Brownsville or Mexico City or something. No, he goes to the Mexican Riviera, so to speak. It's a vacation spot. I mean, the so-called optics of this, as the left likes to call it optics, is unbelievably bad. And again, the judgment was excruciatingly poor. Bad enough if he takes his family, puts them on a plane, and sends them to Cancun. Bad enough. But he gets on the plane with them? Are you kidding? And now maybe he would, and he's trying to explain to Hugh Hewitt why he did. He says, well, I knew it was a bad idea. As soon as I got on the plane, I was having second thoughts. A little late, Mr. Cruz, little late. Should have had second thoughts about that immediately. As soon as you thought, hey, let's go to Cancun, you should have thought, no, that's a bad idea right now. Bad timing. As a matter of fact, Senator Cruz, no senator in this country should be vacationing anywhere as long as they're in office. If it was up to me, I would either get a constitutional amendment or I would pass a law that says that the no senator or House of Representative is going to take a vacation at all during their time in office. No vacations for you, because again, we're how many trillions of dollars in debt. We can't even get these bozos to pass a budget. All they do is pass continuing resolutions. And and you're going to go out and take a vacation? You're going to jump on a plane and go to Cancun? No. Mr. Cruz, you got some work to do. You got a lot of effing work to do. So, so he's now at somewhere towards the bottom of my list. If I'm not going to be voting for former President Trump in 2024, then the nod goes to DeSantis, Governor DeSantis in Florida, who has shown, who has shown courage, period. Political courage and good, solid political instincts, where Senator Cruz has shown none. And that brings me to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. Be honest, be smart, be beautiful. I'm Ron, and that's The Drill.